Oh, hello, Internet, and welcome back to episode 4 of the TapStream podcast. We did it. We did it. It's an entire month worth of podcasting, and I'm happy. I did not think that I'd keep up with this, and we did, and here we are. This will be dropping on Christmas Eve, for those that choose to celebrate. So I do want to go ahead and make sure at the very beginning of this episode that I am wishing you all a very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year's. I don't know. I'm not going to look at a calendar, but I think that might actually be appropriate by the time that rolls around. Regardless, though, it's been a really cool year. When this releases, it will be 5 days from the 24-hour stream, so I'm gonna be freaking out a little bit, but I'm excited about that as well. To do a little bit of a peek behind the curtains, today is Thursday when I'm recording this. I normally wait until the last stream of the week on Saturday, but the Friday after this recording, I am going to be going out of town to hang out with some family members, so didn't think I'd have any time this weekend to record. So I do want to go ahead. And normally I do of what I've been playing and what I've been watching, but I haven't seen any new movies despite the fact that Aquaman came out. So instead of talking about Smash Brothers, I'm going to go ahead and do a top 5 games of 2018 as well as my top 5 movies of 2018 as well. So we're going to go ahead and start with the games. It really felt like it was a pretty good year for video games. But I also feel like my top 5 encompasses like the pretty main ones. Easily, I'm going to start off with the no surprise one because I'm pretty sure if you guys know who I am, you know what it's going to be. But Spider-Man for the PS4 is easily my game of the year. I don't even think it's the best game of the year, but it edges out the second place for me just because of the sentimentality of being Spider-Man. For all the faults in that game, it nailed that feeling of being a hero far more than any other superhero game that I've played. To start off with some of the negatives, I do think it becomes quite repetitive, especially in its side quests. The boss fights kind of get repetitive as well. I wish they would have been a little bit more memorable than they were, but the core mechanics of swinging and fighting were so good that it's really, really easy to look over the nitpicks. I feel like Spider-Man is a game that will show its age far quicker than any of the other games on my top 5 list, but for now it's enough to make me feel like Spider-Man, so it's easily my number 1 spot. I think the story is incredible as well. Any game tasked with paving new ground for a character that has such an iconic status as Spider-Man is daunting. And the fact that Insomniac Games came in and took Spider-Man, created new stories with him in a way that was familiar and paid homage and still became their own thing is a job well done. A job well done. I will say the pacing of it could have been better, but that is a problem of open world games, because the game starts off strong, lulls a bit in the middle, and then ends phenomenally. And it was an emotional gut punch that I was not expecting. So without a doubt, Spider-Man is king for me. I'm really happy. I'm happy that I live in a world where I got to stream a Spider-Man game and for the most part roleplay being Spider-Man, because that game allowed me to just make quips and have fun and beat up on bad guys for hours. So yeah. The second spot, and probably a game that is the best game fundamentally of the year, and again only beat out because of my fondness for Spider-Man and all things Marvel, God of War. God of War is a series that I have avoided until now, not intentionally, it just never really grabbed my interest. God of War always felt like the game that your parents thought of whenever they thought of video games, just kind of like this brutal and testosterone flowing beat 'em up with like badass music and I don't know, it seemed cool, but it didn't seem for me. So with this God of War 4, I believe, I know it's just simply called God of War, but I think it's the 4th edition of the mainline series. It grabbed me from the get-go because it looked to be almost a passing of the torch kind of story with Kratos and Atreus. And I was roped in. I'm a sucker for father-son stories. This edition was just dripping with that narrative hook, and it got me. And then to actually get in and play it is another thing itself. The simple mechanic of throwing your Leviathan axe and then having it come back to you on command made me feel like Thor. So maybe that's why I did become second place, because of back to the marble tie. But it was an incredible experience. The combat was amazing. Daunting at first, but once I finally got into it, I felt invincible. And I'm not going to get into spoiler territory, but the way that the combat just evolves on itself and continues to find ways to change throughout the entirety of the game is astounding. It was genuinely a fun experience. And the boss fights were great, and memorable too, to kind of like play off what I was a little bit down on Spider-Man. There was very memorable action scenes for me, and it never felt like it was the just figure out this one thing and repeat that over and over again. It felt like a brawl, and that was cool to me. I actually really regret there was a lot of side stuff that I didn't tackle in God of War, and I kind of wish I would have done that. I regret not 100%ing that game. Maybe that's something I'll revisit in 2019 and try once more. And yeah, and visually that game is just it's stunning. It feels almost cheap to praise a game on its visuals anymore, because I feel like that's a thing that is constantly just knocked out of the park. Like we've reached a point with our technology that it's almost just like expected for games to look as good as they do. The detail in which God of War brings, though, is nice. A lot of particle effects when it comes to the combat, and some of the way the moves will just be displayed. It's hard to explain, but like there's lots of particle effects and like color. Like there's an enemy that will throw almost like a smoke screen. That's not really smoke screen, but it's just beautiful. That game has a way of subtly using vibrant colors, and it's nice to look at. So I guess I will say that the general aesthetic of God of War is incredibly pleasing. Trying to think if there's anything else that I want to touch on that. Like I said, God of War I think is the better game of the year. It's just unfairly beat out by Spider-Man because of the sentimental value I have for it. Both equally great games. You know, it's hard not to go wrong with either one of them. I can't think of anything else to say about that. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. It almost ties in with what I was saying with Spider-Man. Any series that can come in and reinvent itself and please new fans as well as old fans and pay homage to what has come before it is special, especially in this day and age where you know, entitlement is rampant, and you know, the negative vocal minority is usually louder than any praise. God of War, I'm surprised, navigated those waters incredibly well. So yeah, God of War, please, if you've never played a game before, make sure that you're checking that one out. It is special. So this is where things get a little bit more difficult for me to figure out where. Not that I mean, Spider-Man and God of War are easily 1 and 2. I'm not like entirely sold on the placement of these next 3, but I think Celeste will be the next one I want to talk about. Celeste is a platformer that just came out of nowhere for me and immediately won me over. It is incredibly difficult, but in a way that I don't think is off-putting. It's always welcoming in the way that it handles this difficulty. It never feels like it's challenging you unfairly, and the fact that it gives you options to turn on assist to customize the way that you're traversing through the world really makes it open for anybody. I didn't have to use that, humble brag. I didn't have to use that, but the fact that it gave that option makes it very welcoming for people, and I respect that. Now the story itself deals with you know, like depression and mental illness, and even when the creators won an award for it at the Game Awards, they talked about how, like, you know, the overall message is that power came from within you, to deal with mental illness. And I'm glad that this game takes the time to bring awareness to that. You know, so it's a great story that never feels like it's overbearing, and it's told subtly and is inspirational. And then getting to the combat itself, I mean, platformers I felt were like one of the big highlights of 2018. Celeste found a way to build on what has come before it, because the way that the mechanics were used, as far as like having special sections that you would warp through and it would change the trajectory, or it wouldn't change the trajectory, but it would lock you in, so you had to be careful in the ways that you were entering these special warp zones. It was incredible. And then the way that they would limit the amount of dash jumps that you had, which were signified by the color of your hair, just little details like that were really cool. And they also had like these strawberries that were extra bonus things that you could reach for, and they were nothing more than a point of pride. But the way they were placed just were astounding gameplay loops, and absolutely enjoyed it. Wonderful music, wonderful presentation. Celeste is easily one of the best games of 2018. Now the fourth one. This game is near and dear to my heart. Guacamelee is a game that I played, I think, right before I found streaming, so almost 3 years ago, and I fell in love with it. I thought the visuals were great. It was a Metroidvania style game, which is right up my alley, and it had a way of traversal that incorporated your fighting mechanics, so it was just a delight to move around in, and the actual combat itself was fun. At the time, I did enjoy the story, but having gone back and played the story of the first one, it wasn't as memorable as I would like it to be. So, it's still one of my all-time favorite games, but I had kind of cooled on it a little bit. Enter Guacamelee 2, which is the game that I really do need to be talking about. I got on a tangent there. Guacamelee 2 released just this year, and I ended up 100%ing that game, and it lived up to the original in every way that I could have hoped for. I feel like it leaned more into its platforming status than it did any of its Metroidvania roots, as far as like going in and getting new moves and exploring new areas. That seemed to be on the back seat, and this game felt more focused on building challenging platforming, and it was incredible. It felt shorter than the other one, only if you would have just skipped all the bonus rooms. If you took all the time to do 100% and do the side challenging rooms, that game is incredible. And of course, it kept up its funny storytelling from the first one, but in a way that felt more longer lasting than some of the dated meme stuff of the original one. This game is just chock full of references and Easter eggs that are just incredibly fun to find. The music was great as well. I don't think the combat did change itself, because they had sections where you could be the chicken, and they had moves that would build on that aspect of your character as well. So yeah, it's a worthy sequel. I don't think it was pushing the envelope as far as I would have liked it, but it was still great enough for it to be in my top 5. So at the time of writing my list out, I had Dark Souls Remastered up, because it was the first time that I beat a Dark Souls game, and it was a very memorable experience to me. But now that I'm sitting here actually doing the podcast, I really feel like I want to swap that out for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's hard for me to decide between the two, because there are definitely gripes that I have with Ultimate, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's been a game this year that has provided so much fun with the community, and then with myself. Like, it's become a fun pick up and play game. It definitely is deserving of a spot, I think, of the top 5. It just edges Dark Souls Remastered. I finally have unlocked all the characters. I'm still working my way through World of Light, but I feel like I'm getting close. It's a game that I can see myself playing for years to come, kind of like Mario Kart like Mario Kart. That's a game that has stood the test of time, and I feel like Smash Bros. Ultimate will stand the test of time. And we've still got more DLC characters coming soon, so we'll see how that goes. Other notable mentions I would want to throw on there, they wouldn't be my top 5, but would be The Messenger. That's a game definitely worth checking out. I didn't finish it, so it didn't feel like I should be able to put it on my list. That's actually contradictory, because I just said I didn't finish World of Light, but I don't feel like Smash Bros. Is a game you finish, if you know what I mean. It's more of like an ongoing game. Regardless, I'm moving forward. Another game worth mentioning, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a special game, because Origins would have been in my top 5 last year without a doubt. But Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I feel like I knocked points off of it for being almost too big, which doesn't seem fair. But I felt like I hit a wall in that game and just kind of lost my interest. And that doesn't feel fair to the game. It's definitely worth mentioning. By all means, not making the top 5 doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's an incredible game. But when I think about the games of the year for me personally, it doesn't quite make the cut. I mean, top 10 for sure, but if I had to lock this down to arbitrarily top 5, it's Spider-Man, God of War, Celeste, Guacamelee 2, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But I want to know from you guys. I mean, this is my personal five. What would be your personal five? I'd love to know. So make sure you at the TapStream and let me know. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to the top movies of 2018. Oh, man. Again, if you know me, you probably know which one I'm going to put. I don't think I numbered the top 5 games. I honestly don't think I can put any specific order for these movies. So I will go ahead and start with the one that is probably the most obvious for everybody, especially if you know me. Avengers Infinity War. I generally try and stay away from claiming any of the Marvel movies for being the best movie of the year because I recognize my bias. I know I'm a huge Marvel Cinematic fanboy. I will hype them up for days, but I will never try and defend it as the best movie of the year. That being said, Avengers Infinity War, I think, is most deserving of a top 5 spot of 2018. I have never seen a movie reach such iconic status quite like Infinity War. The fact that people know who Thanos is now and all the memes that have just been brought off of Infinity War, I mean, you cannot ignore the cultural status that is Avengers Infinity War. Now, do I think that being memeable makes a movie a great movie of 2018? No. But it is still astounding how Marvel was able to take everything that had been leading up to this point and make a movie that is not only paying, fair amounts of time to the vast cast of heroes, develops a villain with such depth in such a short amount of time with the big cast, and tell a story that is complete yet still waiting for the one that's coming out in 2019. It is remarkable, and I have not seen anything do what Avengers Infinity War has done, because by all points, this movie should have failed. It should not have been able to do what it did, and there's a reason the cinematic universe is king. Nobody does world building and continuity quite like Infinity War. I'm sorry, quite like Marvel, and it was an experience. If top movie of the year was given by the most amount of times I've seen a movie, Avengers Infinity War I saw 5 times in the theaters and 6 times total with one Blu-ray watch. If I had to critique it, I would say I do feel like the way it handled some of the departures of characters almost felt like it was such a rapid pace that you don't get the proper amount of time to mourn them. But other than that, I liked it. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see where they go from there. So, yeah, that's the most obvious one, I think, for anyone who knows me. The next movie, again, not in any particular order, I would say Annihilation. That was the movie starring Natalie Portman, where she and another team of scientists go into this disturbance that is slowly creeping up on on Earth. And when they go in there, they discover that things are like morphing and mutating and kind of cross-mutating, and it is a trip. I do want to say, I think this is, out of everything in this movie, on this top movies of 2018, this is the most inconsistent movie. It felt like everybody but Natalie Portman was just kind of like all over the place. Some of the characters just felt, almost too try-hardy, and I didn't really buy everything that they were selling as far as like character motivations. But Natalie Portman remained a rock throughout the entirety of the movie, and the last 20 minutes of Annihilation is incredible. It left me going home and just laying down, just thinking about that movie. And the way that is depicted, again, I'm dancing around spoilers because I don't want to hype it up, nor do I want to give away anything. But the way that the last few scenes are depicted is just a trip. And something that I am so glad that I took the time to see in theaters, because it's an experience that I will remember for an incredible amount of time. So if you've got the chance to watch Annihilation, you will have to bear through some of the middle parts, but once you get to the end, I think it is astounding. After that, I think A Quiet Place, the John Krasinski, Emily Blunt movie, where everybody has to be quiet because if they make any sound, they are hunted by these creatures that are just immediately drawn to them. This is an incredible movie. It was a tense experience, to the point I found it incredibly funny how many people said that when they saw this movie in theater, theaters, they were just caught off guard by how dead silent the auditorium was. And it's true. It was wonderful. John Krasinski, I believe, wrote the movie, and I felt like the story effective, but could have used a little bit more time to flesh out its characters and its huge moments. I feel like we are shown stuff. I'm sorry, we're told stuff more than we are shown things. I think the relationship between the daughter and the father could have used, another couple of minutes to make some of the later half of the movie much more impactful. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of efficient in the way that it moves along and tells what it needs to tell in a very suspenseful way. And then I will say this to end my thoughts on A Quiet Place: Emily Blunt and the stairs. That, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Easily one of the most tense feelings I've ever had in a movie theater. So yeah, from there, I would say First Man, the Ryan Gosling. I want to say that's Ryan Gosling. I'm gonna look that up while I'm talking. Yeah, First Man, the movie that featured Buzz Aldrin, our efforts to get to the moon. First Man, yeah, just an awesome experience from start to finish. The spoilers, once they get to the moon, the way that it's shot, it is a fun time. I feel like this, out of all of the ones, this is the one I have the least to talk about. It's incredibly beautiful. The way every scene is just a work of art. Like, you could pause that movie at any point and it would be a frame painting. I'm trying to look up something while I'm talking. This is clearly not going well, but yes, it is Ryan Gosling. Very, very, very fun movie. You can tell I'm running out of things to say, so let's go ahead and start wrapping this up. What was the other one? Quiet Place. Okay, yeah, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That would round up my top 5 movies of the year. I talked about how Infinity War, I did not want to claim. I'm sorry, I don't want to claim any Marvel movie as the movie of the year, just because I know my bias. Into the Spider-Verse, I do believe, escapes that bias for me. I think it is a great movie, absent of my fanboyism. The way that this movie, and I fully recognize my recency bias. This is the last movie that I'm seeing in 2018, probably. So I will make that caveat. But the way that it is depicted on screen is phenomenal. We talked about this last episode. I won't dive again too hard. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wish I would have said last week that I can say this week. I mean, the fact that they're able to just make this feel like a coming of age story, like Miles Morales feels like a young kid in a way that isn't cheesy or like Hello Fellow Kids. I believe Aeroplane was one of the ones that were able to help me put that to words. It's a special movie, and I hope you get to watch it. What was I gonna say? Honorable mention, but I don't think it makes my top 5, would be Overlord. Overlord, I don't think does anything particularly new in the film space, but it was a fun watch, and I would highly recommend it. Movies I did not get to see that I wish I would have gotten to see would be A Star Is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I've heard incredible things about that, but unfortunately I never got to see that, so that is outside of my reviewing window. There was another one that Hereditary. Hereditary was another movie that I unfortunately missed, and I wish I could have gotten around to seeing that as well. But of course, just like with the top games of the year, I'd love to know what about you? What was your top movie of the year? What made you incredibly happy when you were in the theater? I'd love to know. At TheTapStream if you want to share that with me. All right, guys, that'll do it for the games and the movies. I don't have a lot to say. This is a short episode. I am recording it earlier than usual. By the time you're hearing this, I will be gearing up for the 24-hour stream. So yeah, I might not be as present on stream as I would like to be. So I do want to apologize for that. And I do again want to wish you a happy holidays. I hope you all are spending time with family, whether that be blood family or the family that you choose. I hope that you're surrounded by people who love you and who care about you. And to all the TapStream community members, just know that I am thinking of you as well. I plan on doing a write-up for the December 29th to celebrate 3 years of streaming, but to just give a preview, I am forever and perpetually humbled by the people that I call family in the TapStream community. The fact that I get to do this and I'm still doing this 3 years later is an honor that I would never, ever, 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 ever want to take lightly, because for all the times that you guys or all the time that you guys say that I cheer you up, just know that it goes that way as well. You guys cheer me up. And I'll lean into this a little bit. Earlier this week, I ended up streaming Batman Arkham Asylum, and that had everything to do with me waking up. Well, actually, it happened that Tuesday, where midstream I just had a crisis where I immediately felt painfully self-aware and just thought to myself, what the fuck? Like, I was on stream and I just felt like I felt the streamer in me just disappear, and I was left there unable to do anything or say anything or just know how to properly run a show. And I kind of just buckled, and we ended up ending the stream really early. And I woke up that Wednesday and I just was not feeling good. I was in a funk. I just had the imposter syndrome where I just felt like I didn't belong, and I had kind of felt like I was watching, like I didn't belong with all the other people that I watched, and it was just very, very sobering. And I was incredibly close to calling the stream on Wednesday, to the point that I was late by a couple minutes because I was just laying in bed kind of throwing a pity party. But, a good friend of mine, Nigel, gave me the bit of a push to just go live and write it out, and I did. And you guys, the listeners and the TapStream community, made me feel good and reminded me of, of why I'm here doing this. So I want to extend a very heartfelt thank you. Again, I'm going to write out a very long 2018 year 3 roundup of how much you guys mean to me, but to say it here, as well, thank you, from the bottom of my heart. All right, enough of that zappiness. Get the fuck out of here. If you did enjoy the stream, if you did enjoy the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, do whatever it is you need to do. Share it with a friend. If you enjoy this, if you enjoy me, help me out. Share it with the people that you care about as well. Maybe they'll like it too. I am a Mixer streamer, which means I stream my video games at mixer.com/TheTapStream. If you want to be a part of that community, you can find me usually Monday through Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Although, that's going to change. I am moving down to 3 streams a week. Doesn't matter. You guys don't need to know that. Just go. You can follow me there. If you want more bite-sized content, at TheTapStream on pretty much every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Just search TheTapStream and you will find me. If you would like to join our Discord and be a part of the community I am perpetually honored to be a part of, TheTapStream.com, look to the menu icon. You will see a Discord link. Click that, and you'll be able to join. And as always, I want to end it like I always do by asking you, what's been the highlight of your week? It is early, so I feel like I might be jumping mine, but for now, the highlight of my week is, like I said, Wednesday. Streaming Batman and hanging out with the community really rejuvenated me, and it's what I needed at a very low point. That is without a doubt the highlight of my week. So I turn the question to you. If you were listening, if you were out there, at me on any social media platform, at TheTapStream, tell me what's been the highlight of your week. I would love to know. Make sure you use the hashtag #TapStreamHighlight so I can find it if you don't at me. And yeah, keep celebrating, everybody. I will end on this. There was a tweet thread going around about all the vitriol Insomniac was facing because of the Sam Raimi suit, and entitled people were just being assholes. The internet has never made it easier than now to be able to spread information. And unfortunately, when you get a large number of people, sometimes that information is filled with vitriol and hatred and just toxicity. And it's easy to stand and lament it, or it's easy to stand there and shun it and yell at it and try to force it out of people. But I truly believe with everything in my body that the only way that we can kind of counteract that is to just put good back into the world. The whole reason I ask people what the highlight of their day is because I want to get people focusing on the good parts of their day. Even if it was a bad day, there's usually something good that you can look to and get energy from. So for whenever I'm trying to be a positive person, it has nothing to do with me burying my head and trying to ignore the bad things. It has everything to do with just trying to counteract the hate with good. So take that with you into 2019 and just focus on the highlights and focus on being excited for everybody else being excited as well. Find things to celebrate and celebrate with us. I love your faces. I will see you all in 2019. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's.